progressed towards delivering a new, better education system for our children. Our education reform unit has been modernizing our approach towards teaching, finding new ways to engage with parents and the community, better aligning the curriculum, and improving teaching in areas such as project-based learning and experiential learning. They're also developing for our students individual learning pathways to success. Our attention has been focused on the transformative quality education, the classroom learning environment, and the building infrastructure needed to support this new approach to learning. In anticipation of the work needed to address our future infrastructure needs, in December 2020, the Ministry of Education began to consult with the Bermuda public school community to help determine which primary school sites should be developed into parish primary schools. It started with a detailed review of each school site by the school location strategy team, with feedback from the public. The decision, announced in June 2021, was based on the following criteria and weighted scoring. Building conditions, 20%. Land and property conditions, 30%. Safety and health, 30%, and transportation, 20%. The announcement of our parish primary school locations led to significant community discussions and advocacy from various community groups, which supported the retention of primary school locations at West End Primary, St. David's Primary, and St. George's Prep. The government, in response to those concerns, initiated a comprehensive rescoring process last year. This process included the addition of the history and legacy factor and a review of the previous criteria. The History and Legacy Working Group was tasked with developing criteria for evaluating each school's historical legacy and its impact on their communities. Their meticulous work and dedication resulted in a refined framework that added a history and legacy score to the previous 4 scoring factors, ensuring a thorough and fair evaluation. The revised weighting scoring criteria was realigned as follows: building conditions, 15%. Land and property conditions, 30%. Safety and health, 20%. Transportation, 20%. And history and legacy, 15%. Applying this new set of criteria gave us a more nuanced understanding of each school's contribution to our community and its historical significance. The reassessment resulted in West End Primary School achieving a slightly higher score than Somerset Primary. Additionally, the St. David's Primary School site, which we stand on today, improved its ranking amongst the St. George's Parish schools. The history and legacy interviews with schools allowed each school to demonstrate and show vast numbers of individuals who have come through the primary school's halls and contributed significantly to Bermuda in sports, politics, entrepreneurship, and community activism. There is no denying the tremendous role that all of our primary schools have played in developing Bermuda into the country it is today. As a result of the rescoring process, I am pleased to announce that the West End Primary School site will be redeveloped into the new Sands Parish Primary School. All other parish primary school sites to be redeveloped will remain as previously announced. Further discussion followed the final rescoring process, emphasizing on the distinctive nature of the St. David's community compared to the broader St. George's Parish. The final history and legacy score of the St. David's Primary School reflected and underscored this area's unique character and rich history. After reviewing the unique characteristics and history of the St. David's community compared to St. George's Parish, it became clear that the St. David's Primary deserved a distinct status. The school's impressive history and legacy score was a key indicator of its unique cultural and community significance. Consequently, we have decided to redevelop this site into a second parish primary school for the St. George's Parish. It is fitting that today, as we begin Heritage Month, we can make this timely announcement as a practical demonstration of our commitment to recognizing the importance of the shared cultural history. This decision reflects our recognition of St. David's as a place of learning and a vital community hub. Moving forward, I am committed to working with the local community to ensure that the future community parish primary school fully embodies and celebrates the unique spirit and heritage of St. David's. We recognize that these decisions took longer than expected, and I appreciate your patience. We worked diligently to ensure that our decisions were fair and well-informed, while remaining sensitive to the impact these outcomes have on all stakeholders. We understand that despite robust advocacy, this decision may not align with every school community's hopes. However, the process has been one of careful consideration and meticulous evaluation, guided by a commitment to fairness and the best outcomes for our educational system and our children. However, this does not diminish those educational institutions' contribution to those communities and our country. In the weeks ahead, we will accept expressions of interest for the Educational History and Legacy Committee. This committee will be empowered to work closely with all of our primary school families to ensure that while those schools may not be a part of our system in the future, their histories will never be erased or forgotten. Now that the rescoring process is completed and the final school sites to be repurposed into parish primary schools have been selected, I wish to announce the next steps that the public can look forward to. An order will be drafted to amend the Education Primary Schools Temporary Act 2023 to add the following schools that will transition from primary school to parish primary school. This list includes Francis Patton Primary of Hamilton Parish and Purvis Primary of Warwick Parish. The schools to be added are Sands Parish, West End Primary, Southampton Parish, Dalton E. Tucker Primary, Paget Parish, Paget Primary, Pembroke Parish, West Pembroke Primary and Victor Scott Primary, Devonshire Parish, Elliott Primary, Smith Parish, Harrington Sound Primary, and St. George's Parish, East End Primary, and St. David's Primary. Next, the reform unit will focus on finalizing the 3-tier to 2-tier plan, which was first discussed in April 2023. The next version of the plan to transition from a 3-tier to a 2-tier system will be finalized and released to the public. The Department of Education and the Education Reform Unit have been working with representative group of schools and site leaders to determine a process for sharing information that is specific to each school and site leader community, including the timing for school openings, phasing out and closures, as well as other pertinent information. Change, while challenging, is essential for progress. We are committed to providing our children with the best educational environments possible. Thank you for your continued support and engagement, and we look forward to a brighter future for education in Bermuda. I'll now hand over to the Premier of Bermuda.
Thank you, Minister. Good afternoon. I'm pleased to be joined by my colleagues, the Minister of Education, the Minister of Youth, Social Development and Seniors, and Area MP, Denise Ferbert, as well as the MP for this particular ground where we stand on, Miss Levita Fogo, the Honorable Miss Levita Fogo, and also members of the St. David's community who are making me emotional as well. As a father who has trusted the public school system with the education of my children, I know firsthand the importance of education reform to Bermudian families. Whether knocking on doors, at public meetings, or in encounters at community events, people share with me the hopes and desires for an education system that provides the best teaching and learning experience for their children and grandchildren that I want for my own. The days when governments went off and made decisions without involving the people impacted had long passed, and the thoughts and feelings of the people we serve must be a part of all that we do. This is what this government has demonstrated over the last 7 years, and we will continue to demonstrate that into the future. The decisions that have been announced today have been made in the best interests of the communities these schools serve, having heard directly from parents, guardians, and interested residents, and members of the government backbench. You spoke, we listened, and an outcome that we feel is in the best interests of all of Bermuda students, current and in the future, has been reached and agreed by the cabinet. While the delivery of education reform is complex, this has been a collaborative process from the very beginning. And we want to thank everyone who helped us reach these decisions and all those who will be a part of future decisions. The beauty of this tiny island is that our elected representatives are close to us. We grew up together, worship together, our children play sports together, we often shop at the same time, all of which affords a unique opportunity for anyone to share a point of view with their MP or even a senator. This is something we, as your representatives, never forget, and we encourage you to continue to speak your mind and to let your voices be heard. Today, we stand in a unique community who know what it feels like to go unheard, whose rich and varied history is punctuated by sacrifice in the name of war, development, transport, housing, and more. Over several decades, St. David's has been made to surrender much of what made it that unique community in Bermuda. In considering whether to build a parish primary school on this site for the community of St. David's, this history weighed heavily on our minds. Keeping this site as a parish primary school is a means of preserving something of that unique St. David's, which does not require this community to again surrender land, custom, tradition, or memory. The history and legacy of our schools, this community, and the Sands community have given much to our island. And now we step into a future united in working for the benefit of our children. Our growing economy and the financial contribution that it makes to our society must include our children, occupying those jobs that drive economic growth. The only way to achieve that is through a public school system that produces results. Today's world demands critical thinkers, students ready to meet the demands of careers as skilled tradesmen or women, or in professions of law, accounting, compliance, and financial services, or inspiring the next generation in education and the arts. This is an important day in the education reform journey. And while it ends one chapter, there is still much work ahead of us. Though much of the focus has been on what existing school sites will host new buildings, we must all be equally passionate about the teaching and learning outcomes that take place inside of those buildings. Bermuda's children and their families can be assured that we remain fully committed to delivering on our promise of an education system that takes care of the whole child, promotes growth and development of all of our young people, and preparing them to be Bermuda's best. And what I'll say to the St. David's community behind me, and I see persons for the West End community behind the camera, what I will say is that it has been difficult. These decisions are not easy, but we believe that we've arrived at the best decision for the future. And now I will happily hand over to the MP for this area for a few remarks, followed by the MP for the neighboring constituency, Minister Diallo Rabain. MP Fogo.
Thank you, Premier. What I can say is a great big thank you for the redress given to this situation by the Ministry of Education, the minister in particular, and his team. The outcome that we've heard today was the correct outcome because, yes, we are standing on grounds that is a community hub and weighing in on history, on culture, and on community. There was no doubt that the minister and his team would arrive at the decision that they arrived at today. And all of the residents in St. David's are extremely grateful. I am extremely grateful to Kelly and her St. David's warriors for presenting education with the information that I think was vital in the decision making that the minister found himself having to consider. And so once again, thank you. I want to say thank you to all the prayer warriors who said that there was no doubt that St. David's would remain open. And I want to put my hand up as a believer and praise God for the outcome that we have here today. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. As also an MP for the area of St. David's, I have watched and I have observed the connection of this community, St. David's Primary being an anchor institution for this community. We are so very elated and happy and thankful for the decision that has come out today. And we look forward to St. David's Primary being continuing to be one of the best primary schools on our islands. And we will continue to support it, and we will continue to hear the concerns of the area residents and constituents. It is again important and vital what this school means to this community. And we are just so thankful that we are able to stand here today and say that St. David's Primary will remain open as a parish primary school. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes, Kelly. Just, yes.
Good afternoon. I'm so thankful for the news this afternoon. I just want to thank the St. David's community for all their support and all of their help. I would also like to thank the St. David's PTA as well. I want to thank the committee that presented the history and legacy, myself, as well as Mr. Blake Crockwell, as well as Dr. Carlton Crockwell, and all of those that helped with the research going into the history and legacy. And it was rough, but I'm thankful for the outcome. I want to thank the leadership of our principal, Mr. Gladstone Thompson, and I also want to thank the team here and the teachers for their resilience, as well as the students for their resilience as we went through this. And I'm thankful for the decision. Thank you.
Now, at this time, I'll take any questions.
Good afternoon, Minister.
Good afternoon, Sarah.
It's great news to hear. The government is listening. Obviously, it's been a lengthy process and quite stressful for some schools in this long process, as you just outlined. It's led to delays in certain areas. And also, there's been accusations that the government should have been listening from the outset of this process. So the question would be asked, have there been any lessons learned from this process?
Well, I would think the lessons learned is that this government does listen. And we do take into account the decisions that we have to make are sometimes very difficult decisions. And in some cases, I'm not going to be stand there and say that we get everything right the first time. But the purpose of the things that we do is to get them right eventually. And so I think we've come to the right conclusion in this one.
Okay. And the involvement with the innovation unit is ongoing. Where they stand.
The innovation unit is our change partners that have been employed by the Ministry of Education to assist the reform unit. The reform unit is staffed by all Bermudians that are leading education reform, with the innovation unit employed to assist them as needed. And that current contract remains in place.
And do you know how long that will remain in place for? Is there a timeline on that yet?
Currently, we are looking at what it's going to look like in the future. Now that we have made this decision, there are critical conversations that need to take place on what's going to happen over the next bit. And as I announced, the 3-tier to 2-year plan. And so we will continue to evaluate the contract. Currently, as it stands, it expires in October of this year. But if we find that it has to be renewed, it's something that we will take on when that time comes.
Given the history of this situation, there might be some who disagree with this decision. Is this the end? Is there no going back now?
As I stated in my remarks, the next phase of this is I will be drafting an order to add the schools that we announced today into the listing of schools that will move on to be parish primary schools. And this is the decision that we've made today, and we'll be moving forward with these schools.
One of the delays as a result of this has been parents finding out whether they can be accepted into their primary school of choice. Do you have any idea when that?
First, just a minor correction. That had nothing to do with the delays of this particular decision. No, the rescoring was done. Although we announced various days that we would be finished, it became quite clear that those dates would not be made, and we made an announcement to say we're not going to make those dates. And that is because of the thoroughness that the team went through to actually conduct the interviews, come up with the necessary questions. History and legacy and how to measure that is an extremely difficult and personal thing. And so we tried to come up with a method that could get us to the point we are at now, and it just took longer than we expected. In terms of parents finding out what primary schools, I want to say that the preschools have already been announced, and as of my last conversation with the Commissioner of Education, they were delaying the release of those until after the checkpoint exams, and the checkpoint exams did conclude, I believe, last week, and so those letters should be coming out fairly soon.
Okay. Would it be okay to ask an off-topic question? No, Sarah, we're going to keep it to education as it relates to this particular initiative. Alyssa, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Minister. Elisa Bernardo with Bermuda Broadcasting. Firstly, have these decisions been made, at least in part, to placate campaigners who had aggressively petitioned for this change?
These decisions were made based on the data that was collected during the history and legacy component, which we promised we would add into the scoring criteria.
And are you, at this time, are you able to share when West End Primary and St. David's Primary are slated to reopen as parish primary schools?
As stated within the comments, we now need to work on the 3-year to two-tier plan, three-tier to two-tier plan. And once that is finalized, it will be given to our constituents, our stakeholders, and that's when we'll be able to say this is the timeline that will phase in and phase out the various schools.
And do you anticipate there being enough students in the East End to fill the classrooms of 2 parish primary schools?
Yes. And that is a question that we do need to provide clarity. The design of our parish primary schools are not today are full on the day that they open. None of our primary schools with the numbers that we have should be more than 70% full. And so we do recognize that we will have 2 schools in the East, and we will make the necessary adjustments to ensure that both schools have equitable and quality education offerings.
And lastly, you said West End Primary had increased their score this time around. Are you able to share by how much?
The final report will be released to the public. We also will be releasing the documents that were submitted during the history and legacy interviews, as well as the actual videos of the interviews. We're looking to have them posted up to our website. And so that, as we did with the first round of scoring, which is in the public domain, this will be put into the public domain as well.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
That concludes the questions as it relates to this particular topic. I know you had a side question that you wanted to ask, and we can try and accommodate that, Sarah, but I do believe we have just some final comments from Mr. Richardson. Mr. Richardson, would you like to take the podium just to share your sentiments? Yes, Russell.
I turn easy. Today I turn a lot. My grandpa Harry, who died in heaven now, 120 years ago, on April 4th, he marched from St. Luke's Church to this site. And it took him 35 years to convince the government of the day to build this site. I want to run to President my Aunt Bernice, one of the students of the original schools. And I want to thank the minister and the government for such a bold move. When he made that announcement, I had to cry.
Yes.
Welcome, sir.
I've researched the history of our school going back some 30 years. Yeah, and thanks for the PTA, Kelly. We've got more and more history. All of our teachers, we know all of our principals, we know all of our students for the last 120 years. Again, I want to thank you all. I'm happy as a pig in muck.
Sir. No, it's just grateful. The emotions are here. This is not easy, and as I expressed in my statements, education is easy. As I said, as a parent with students in the public school system, in a school that is not scheduled to be redeveloped into a parish primary school, this impacts me. It impacts me when there's questions from Ed talking about the fact of the plan and that he's going to have to move from Northlands. I understand that this is deeply personal for many, but what we are trying to ensure is about the future and making sure that we have the ability to build school facilities that will equip our students well into the future. And it is my hope that now that this process has concluded, we can move on to focus on what is going to take place in those schools. So I want to thank everyone, and I want to just say we're going to move on. So take care and have a good day.
Yes.